Okay, so now we have Linda's, and this is a really complex one. She's at the ballet, but I told her I would do this and she can see it later. So she said she chose this piece for quiet, the quiet challenge, but she put it away as it was too hard. And she's absolutely right. This is very hard the way we're looking at it here. I'm going to show how to simplify it. It's got some hard things. It's got perspective, it's got water reflections, it's got moving a boat from one place to another, and combining pictures. And so she wants to also delete the balcony. On the right-hand picture, you see there's a balcony that's covering up that little bridge, and she wants the bridge to show, which is good, rather than the balcony. So she wants to take that out. And she had trouble with the perspective and with the vanishing point. And so we're going to see how to fix all of this. So here's the two pictures next to each other. And so what I did was I kept the the highlighted areas on the left. I kept that piece on the left and the piece on the right. And then the photo on the right, that highlighted area in the second with the boat, I'm keeping that. And I'm going to move it over and put it on top of the one on the left. So there we have it in the center. So I moved the boat, put it where I wanted. And the reflections are a little funky. They're not doing exactly what I want. In a program like a simple program, you don't get 100% of everything the way you want right off. We're blocking it out. And so anyway, so now we're looking at the two pictures again on the sides, and let's see what we're doing here. Okay, so let's go back. The picture in the center here with the golden reflections, I like that. I'm not sure if that's what Linda wants to use, but I liked it. So I took that picture and I laid it on top of the other picture. So that's what that is. The image on the left, which with the white line around it, is actually laid exactly on top. Now, the angle of the photo was different, so I had to change the angle and the size of the picture to get it put on top. But that's how you combine two pictures with perspective, is to make sure that you have one on top of the other with all the perspective lines lining up. And then on the right-hand side, so I took the boat and I plopped the boat right on top of there. So I'm building this picture piece by piece into what she wants. So then, what am I doing here? Oh, okay. So the picture on the right, I isolated that bridge. So she wants to have the whole bridge, but we can't see the whole bridge. We only see the left-hand side of the bridge. So I isolated, on the right-hand side, I isolated that bridge, and then I reversed it. So you can see in the middle, the left is what we can see, and then I reversed it on the right. And then I took the reversed image and plopped it in on top of the image on the left, so that we now have a whole bridge. It's a little funky because it's not quite as curved at the top as what we want, but it's close. And then I went ahead and took the reflection there. You can see in the center, that little reflection piece. I'm going to put that on the left there too. So there's the reflection. So now we have the reflection of the bridge, and we've kind of gotten rid of most of the balcony. Okay, so the perspective. So here's what's tricky with hers. It's almost 1-point perspective, but not really, and it's not really 2-point perspective. So you've got a hybrid here that's really strange and tricky. And because it's so close to 1-point perspective, I'm recommending just addressing it as 1-point perspective. If you were going to do this the size of a mural on the side of a building, that would not work. But if you're going to do this, a quilt 36 inches tall or less, you're not going to get enough accuracy with these perspective lines anyway to make it exact. So you're within the percentage of making it look okay. So we'll take a look at that. So this is 1-point perspective. So 1-point perspective is when the vanishing point in perspective is above the center of your object. And then all parallel lines appear to recede to the point on the horizon called the vanishing point, which we often see in this typical picture of the train tracks. Now, what's different here is we would have to be moved over a little to the left for that to be exactly happening here. Um, but it would also make it a much less interesting picture. So my professional advice on this is to just address it as one point. You're going to slide under the under the level of perfection just fine with that. Um, and the one thing you do want to do is with the, if you put in the reflection of the building there, you want to make that building line up with this green line, which is one of the green lines of um, the vanishing point there. So on the left-hand side, we see that one dot on the horizon. It's the vanishing point of all of those lines going to the point on the horizon. What we want to do on the right-hand side is to adjust the reflection of that building so it lines up with the green line. And that'll, she said in her question that it seemed weird that that building was kind of curving out, and that was giving her a problem with perspective because it was giving her another vanishing point. And my advice on that is, you don't have to use the vanishing point. The photo tells you, you're in charge. Fix it yourself to make it do what you want to do, and you'll be fine. Okay. So then we're looking at the rule of thirds. So when I looked on the left-hand side at the rule of thirds, I'm thinking, this boat here is close to the rule of thirds. We've got all this extra wall on the right-hand side we really don't want. So I scooched the rule of thirds over, and on the right-hand side here, you can see the yellow lines, and you can see that I've made that vertical there line up with the boat. And what that means is, with the white dotted line, I'm going to get rid of all of that wall there that's not very interesting anyway. So there you go. Much better composition. Now, what we're going to look at is, I moved here. Let me go back. So that top on the left, the top horizontal yellow line is above the, or let's look at the right. I'm sorry. On the right, the top horizontal yellow line is above the point of the front of the gondola. So I'm thinking, ooh, we could move that down a little bit and line it up perfectly, which we have on the left here, circled in green. And what that means is we have to cut off the top part there, which is where the dotted line is, because once I make my rule of thirds shorter so that that intersection lines up, then it only goes up to that dotted line. So on the right-hand side, I have taken that part off, and it's much better because the bridge that she wants to be important is now much more important at the top of the picture without all that fuzzy stuff over it. And now the front of the gondola is exactly in a great place. There's a couple of things I don't like about this. There's all those poles and reflections of poles in the water that take away from this. So we're going to do something about that. So, okay, so that's how this is the composition. Looks much better. So now these pole reflections in the water that I don't like, that are pointed out with green arrows, I just took slices of the picture there and made a slice and plopped them on top. So on the right-hand side, the poles are mostly covered. They're not completely covered, and they're not covered totally evenly, but you can tell by looking at it, it's much better. It's a focus on the boat, which is the gondola, which is what she wanted. So then I took a piece of the reflection there from the left-hand side, which wasn't there on the left, and I just took a piece of that and I added it to the right so that it looks like a continuation of that same kind of reflection. And then I'm looking here, the green arrow is showing this side of the building, which is absolutely fighting with the gondola. It's trying to be too important, and I don't like that. So I lowered the value, and on the right-hand side, you can see that by lowering the value and the chroma, which chroma is saturation, of that side of the building, we have totally put the focus on the gondola going towards the bridge, which is what the subject of the image is. So here we have the final thing, the two pictures on the left that she offered, and how we took those pictures and combined them into a final piece on the right. So here's the idea. If you carefully plan your ahead for your design, your composition, your values, your perspective, and your color harmony, that's an essential investment of your time. And you're going to spend way less time taking things apart or undoing things later on because you got all of these pieces decided on and put together, and your project is going to progress much more smoothly. And here we have the pieces that we talked about, which hopefully I will see in a show someday looking spectacular.